What's up, Harvey?
Welcome to What Would an Entrepreneur Do? And today is my stepdaughter's birthday, May 12th. Super exciting. I just got off the phone with France, so I'm all energized. My name is Sarah Endline. I'm an entrepreneur in residence at Harvard Business School in the Harvard Innovation Lab and a serial social entrepreneur. Maria.
Good morning from North Carolina. I'm Maria Kingery with Southern Energy Management, serial social entrepreneur, and B Corp enthusiast since 2009.
And I just want to call out Mel, who is our production tech assistant. Thank you, Mel, for helping us. And I know Hazel is coming. Mel's working on this. We're going to jump into questions. We have a special guest today, Hazel, so we will introduce her when she lands. But the premise of this call is interaction and helping each other and sharing experiences and just making sure that we're here for each other during this time. So passing it to Maria.
All right, thank you. So there are a couple of housekeeping items. So if you would, the easiest way for us to see your questions and manage that is in the chat. So if you do have a question, please enter it in the chat. I do try to scan the faces. So if you've got something burning and wave, I will try to see you, but we usually have multiple screens, so that's not always as reliable. If you would, it looks like everybody is muted, so that's not an issue. I think by now we all kind of have our Zoom etiquette going, which was not as prevalent in the beginning of this situation that we're in. But it's again, as Sarah said, it is open for us to support one another in whatever ways we possibly can. So we did have a question that came in via email. So if no one has a question that they want to ask yet, we can go to that. And it was a really juicy one. And the question was...
We love juicy questions. Please put them in the chat.
I have not seen Liz pop in on the call. Because we do like for you to speak your own questions, but I don't see Liz. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask her question. And it was, let me make sure I get it perfectly right. What are some of the lessons learned for founders bringing in a partner? And as someone who is partners with their husband, I'm just going to...
Yeah, Maria, I feel as though you should start, but I see Steve here is also as a share. And before we jump into that question, I just want to welcome Miss Hazel, our lovely serial entrepreneur who has patched in at 7 a.m. from California. We don't do long intros here. Like I say, you can find lots of info about Hazel online, on LinkedIn, etc. I will tell you, she is a dear, incredible friend who has a vision to really help the world. And so I'm really happy you're here today. Welcome, Hazel.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm in the Orange County EO chapter.
Hi, Hazel. So good to see you. Okay, sorry. So now that we've properly welcomed Hazel, Steve, did you have an experience share on our bringing in a partner question?
So I ran an IT company for 32 years, never got sued, never sued anybody. Just went about doing the right thing by people as often as possible. And I partnered up with three guys that really had other plans. And my experience share is that no matter how good your agreements are and how good your contracts are that you have written by the most expensive lawyers, you still need to defend, or I found I still had to defend myself, even though I had done nothing wrong. So my experience share is that I wish I would have been a bit more leery in my examination of the people I was looking to get into bed with. Then it doesn't mean all partnerships are bad, obviously. In my experience, they should be a good thing. If you partner up and you all have different benefits you can add in, it should really gel and work well. But unfortunately, my share is not a positive one. So I guess what I'm sharing is that I wish I had dug a little deeper and really, looked at who I was jumping into bed with.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Really important. Hazel, do you have anything to share on that?
Well, I've had a couple of business partners, and right now I'm buying into a new business and gaining 3 new business partners. What I've learned is to treat it just like a marriage. Make sure you have clear expectations of everybody's role, what they're willing to do and not willing to do. And for me, I'm a visionary, and I can see all the way until I'm 95 years old. And I know what kind of a difference I want to make in the world. And I know how I want to work. And there has to be people there that want to work with somebody like me. And what I'm finding is that I'm being very honest right up front. And then the person gets to choose. In the past, it hasn't been that way. My first business partner, I wanted to grow and conquer California, and she wanted to stay small and work with only clients in the city that we lived in and that we had our business in. And that was her vision. And I had a very different vision, and she probably thought we'd never get to my vision. And we ended up growing, and she was very uncomfortable with that. And we ended up breaking up, and it was not a nice breakup. She told me I overwhelmed her. But from the beginning, I knew I wanted to grow, and she knew she wanted to stay small. And right now we're competitors, and she is small, and I am the largest in California. So if we have the vision from the beginning and we know we don't match, it's something to really talk about.
Ironically, I'm looking at acquiring into a new company right now, and that's one of the things I've learned is just be honest with myself and with my partner, and if that works, great. If not, I'm not going through the mess. There's 3 years of lawsuits and a lot of money for lawyers, so I won't go through that again.
Two follow-ups to that. And I haven't had a partner, so I've listened to these EO stories, eyes wide open. So Hazel, can you talk about the honesty you're now sharing with this new partnership you're exploring? And then can you talk about Savvy Socks and with, I think, what is maybe a younger dynamic founder, how you set that up?
Well, Savvy Socks is owned by myself, 60% and 40% with my boyfriend. And we have an agreement that I just stay out of that business completely, and he handles it all. Sporadically, we'll have money conversations about it. That's the only time I ask him what's going on in the company is if there's no money this month. And, and one of the things that I did do with him, because he matters so much to me, he matters more than any sock company, is that we hired a business coach, and we communicate about the business with the business coach. And if I happen to have a breakdown in conversation with him, we'll reach out to the business coach. And that's helped us a lot. We didn't have one up until probably 6 months ago. And so now it's something that's helped us a lot, and we're growing. What I tell my business partners is that I don't work in the traditional ways. I'm not work smarter, not harder. So some partners want to see their business partners work 50, 60 hours because that's what they're doing. That's their style. And I really learned how to work smarter through reading a lot and through EO, certainly. I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I loved it. I went from 40 hours, 50 hours a week to 20 hours a week working. And then in EO, I heard another speaker who wrote the book, The 40-Hour Work Year. And that really changed a lot of my mindset about how we can leverage our employees and delegate. And I ended up getting really, really good at delegating. Even in my own home, I delegate everything that I can. And what I leave up to me and what my partners can count on is the visionary work. And I'm really excited about that. And everything that I touch ends up turning to gold because of that, because the vision that I have for the future. And no matter what's happening, even COVID right now, we're thriving in this in this era right now, what's going on. And I really believe it's because I'm not focused on what's happening right now. I'm focused in the future and where the company is going. And that's, I think, what my business partners can count on and why they're really excited to get into business with me.
I love this. This is a big, juicy topic. And I know Maria's got probably some questions over there, but I think this idea of how do we work smarter is so critical. I remember joining EO and very quickly reading the E-Myth and thinking, wow, it's such a simple book. Every new entrepreneur I meet, I go, please read the E-Myth. Work on your business, not in your business. So I have a feeling maybe there's some shares. Like I see some longtime folks out there like Vijay and Harvey that could share, maybe Adam could share on the topic of like work smarter, not harder, and E-Myth your business the way Hazel is talking about it. I know, Marie, you obviously have lots of experience, but if anyone wants to pepper in on this juicy topic, it's such an important one. Maria, maybe you should start. Got a bunch of shy people this morning.
I know. I like to leave, as you guys, if you've been here before, you know I like to leave space for folks to jump in. But at any rate, yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. So Hazel, I had a very similar experience with a partner who I felt was misaligned. And in some ways, it was doubly unfortunate because it was my husband. and misaligned in the vision and misaligned in our roles was where we really struggled for a while. And you know, I don't often talk about this publicly, but here we are with our dear friends, and this is what this is all about, right? Is supporting each other. But I will say that it was challenging for a while. I would say probably the first 10, 11 years of our business, because we did not have that clarity of roles that you're talking about, Hazel, and we did not have the shared vision. And if anybody had come to me and said, do you have a shared vision for your company? Do you have a strong vision for your company? We were a B Corp, right? We were doing great work in the world in the solar and green building industries. And I would have said, of course we do. But what I recognized was, to your point, we didn't have a shared vision of what it was going to look like down the line. And it's really, really important. So we actually adopted some of the E-Myth principles as well. And went farther than that with the entrepreneurial operating system. And to your point about visionary, and then we discovered Bob was the integrator, and it really set our company on fire when that happened. So I can really share how important that is to have that clarity of roles, clarity of vision, and make sure you guys are 100% on the same page. Anybody else have?
I see Tina has a cool share.
Excellent. Tina.
Yeah. I was just, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just sharing with, actually, comment on what Hazel was talking about. I had the same issue with my mother, and I started a restaurant with her when I came back to the Philippines in 2004. And then after maybe a year and a half, it became quite clear to me that we had very different visions of where the restaurant should go. I wanted growth, I wanted expansion, and I wanted to franchise it. She wanted to keep it in one location and very small, and with people that were not, according to my standards, professional enough for growth. So anyway, I left and I ended up working for a few different companies, 2 or 3. And then I decided that the only way to go for me was really to have my own business. So I started a few different businesses in fragrance, in clothing, in education, in fashion, and also in food. And in 2018, August, I ended up taking the concept of her restaurant, her recipes, and started an online food delivery business with a similar brand with her name on it, but the brand name is similar but different. The restaurant is called Mama V Restaurant. The new brand, which is online, is called Mama V Delicious. So I started that in August 2018, and it's last year around November, December. It was pretty clear to me that the business has legs. So this year I'm very aggressive in the marketing, and I'm starting to grow. And she told me about 3 weeks ago that she was going to step down from the restaurant in a few months, and she wanted me to take over. So basically, I've gone full circle, right? I started a restaurant with her. I left, and now she's like, "Here, you can have it." And I think it's because that she sees now that I basically can be successful at what I'm doing. So she's like, basically, the control factor is no longer there. I mean, she's 80, and she's had a very successful career in anything she does. She's like Hazel. Anything she touches turns to gold. So she really, I mean, you cannot be in a situation with her where you're co-managing. It's not going to work. It's either going to be her way or my way. And unfortunately for me, I'm exactly the same kind of entrepreneur. So I don't think a partner would work for me. So that's my.
Tina, this is in Manila, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So I've come to that conclusion. It might be more, it will be more challenging to go at it on my own. It probably will be slower, but in the end, I think personally, I will be happier doing the business and running the business and growing the business by myself. That's the trade-off I'm willing to make. So that's the story. Thank you.
Thanks, Tina.
I think Harvey wants to share, Maria, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh. Harvey, oh, you're muted now, Harvey. You're muted. Yeah. Okay.
Am I good now?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Harvey Ginsberg, Corporate Graphic Solutions, EO New York for about 7 years now. Sarah, thank you for doing this, and thank you for your WhatsApp app. And it's been refreshing over this quarantine to have some place to go. I had a partner. I've been in business for 40 years, and a long time ago, I had a partner, and it gave me a really bad taste. We just didn't have the same visions. We didn't have the same, he was more of the father type, and I was a follower, and I learned a lot. And when I opened up this company 20 years ago, I decided to do this by myself. There's a pros and cons, as we all know, of doing it by yourself, okay? But I've done it up until, this catastrophe. Everything was going along really well. Now we're pivoting again. It seems like every 10 years we pivot. And we're in that 10th, 11th year now of doing that again, which, I'm getting pretty good at. I'm a lucky boomer. So having said that, I'm back looking for a partner. So it's funny how things just keep going around in circles. Now I'm doing it for other reasons. At this point, I'm thinking 3 to 5 years, as EO always teaches you. And obviously it's more on the 5 side because we have to recover from this, which I think we will. So my experience is that, you need to find somebody that has the same vision as you have, as, you two have said that. If you don't have the same vision about growth, and if you want to stay regional instead of global, or, you have to really talk about those things and develop some kind of relationship moving forward. In my situation, I'd like to eventually leave the company, and that's part of my vision for finding another person. Although that's very difficult. I have been trying for a while now and haven't been successful. So that's my 2 cents on this subject.
Thank you, Harvey.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Maria, my beautiful co-host.
Harvey, if I can recommend the 40-hour work year. Scott Fritz, the author, he talks to the point that it's really important to find the right person in your company, and a lot of times we already have that person in the company. So what gets us stuck as entrepreneurs is that we think we have to find someone that's as passionate as we are and committed to the company as we are and experienced and all of these really high expectations. Basically, they have to be us. And that is the biggest mistake that we make as entrepreneurs, because we're never going to find anybody as good as we are. So first of all, we have to get over that. That person doesn't exist.
You're right.
But there is good enough. So if you have somebody in your company that's 70% as good as you are, you teach them 10% and 80% is good enough. And so that's what I heard.
So I read that book about the 4-hour work week, and I was getting close. But it's a good thing I did it the other way, because now I'm back to the other way.
Yeah.
You know, in these times, I don't know, I'm sure we're all in that same, 4 hours a day Zooming and then checking your emails for 4 hours. I seem to be working now harder than I've ever worked before, but we've all done it and we'll go back to normal. But I hear you, and I think you have a point as far as looking within. Thank you.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, can I add something to that, just because this is on my heart? We've talked about shared vision and complimenting somebody who's not as good as you. I would challenge us to think about it slightly differently, in that they're as good as you in different ways, right? They're not going to do things the same way that you would. Thank goodness, right? That you would never get anything done. But everybody, like Hazel, nobody else can be the visionary that you are. That is a unique role that you play for the organization. If I'll only speak for myself, there are some things in my organization, many things I can't do and certainly don't want to do. So this idea of elevating and delegating and making sure that you're actually doing your highest and best work, and Sarah and I talk about this a lot in our conversations, is so important, as well as core values. Making sure that as far as how you want to operate in the business world and where you're coming from is aligned, because that is where I've seen, fortunately, that was the thing that my husband and I had in common, which is how we got to the other side of our business challenges without legal intervention of what could have been the worst kind.
It's so true. And by the way, if you're not on Gallery View, please go upper right to Gallery View so you see the crew. It's a really awesome, intimate group this morning, and this conversation is so relevant. Back to Maria.
Yeah, so I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I certainly, Hazel, if I can ask you a question directly, I've been so amazed at your ability to, as you say, everything that you touch turns to gold. And you make it sound like, oh, I have this vision, and then it just happens. But I know that is not the case. So can you?
Maybe it is.
Well, maybe it is. Yeah. So I just wonder if you can share a little bit more about your magic touch. I have a crystal ball here, for example. And so far, it has not revealed the future after COVID.
It's a secret. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I've had a practice of visioning for probably since 2013, and I create the future. So I first started with a 5-year vision for myself, and it included things that would take a miracle to happen in my life. And so I don't know everybody on this call, but basically I grew up poor on welfare. Both my parents were in prison, and I had a lot of death and drama and trauma on my childhood. And finally, I didn't even graduate high school. I got a high school diploma when I was 30, and I became an educational psychologist. In spite of becoming an educational psychologist, I was fist fighting with my sisters at 36 years old. I didn't know how to solve my problems without fighting for everything. And then at 36, I developed interest in personal development seminars, and I realized that I was choosing different ways of being that I never knew existed. And then I became very curious about that, and my life started to work. And one of those things that I learned how to do is create my life. So the art of living a created life. And I created a 5-year vision that, like I said, would take a miracle. I didn't even know that these things were even possible. I didn't have any example of this, but I was playing a game of having the best life possible, and what would that look like? And I envisioned myself having the love of my life. I didn't know that that was possible. I thought that all relationships had drama, and they didn't look like that. I've never had any example. Most of my family had been through divorce. My mom married and divorced many times when I was young. Eventually, my mother shot and killed her boyfriend. So I didn't know that was even possible, but I did dream it. So I dreamt having the love of my life at 36 years old, and I was already divorced, and I was already in and out of a lot of relationships. So I was not believing that, but I did create that. If I believed in miracles, then what is possible? And I said that I could find the love of my life, you know, and it's not just for people on television, but that it would be real. I also said I wanted to have a $3 million plus corporation. At the time, I did have my business, and we made total gross 300,000. So I 10x that in my vision. I also said I wanted to live in a Pimp Daddy mansion, the kind where music videos are filmed.
Which she does. I've stayed there.
Yes, and fly around in private jets. And I wanted to have relationships with my sisters that looked like we were in heaven, which was not the case. Like I said, at the time we were fist fighting. So I created a vision of this world that was like no one that I knew lived in that world, except for people in the television. And within 2 years, I made all of that happen for no particular reason. I didn't go learn one new thing. I didn't do anything that was extraordinary to say that I sought this out. It happened. So creating a vision for what you want is really important. When I said that I wanted my company to conquer California, for us to be the #1 counseling center, we had 8 referrals a month, and we grew to 500 referrals a month. And so that practice is pivotal for me. It's like one of those things I talk about that you don't learn. I went to a lot of classrooms to learn about business, and they did not teach this. This is like, you know, harnessing the universe, like, and God, and like everything that's for you, and all of these resources that are out there that we don't see. Right. And so there's a large population that think that 90% of what's going on is what you see is what you get. And they live in that world. And for me, and another 1% is like all these other things that are out there that we can tap into. And so one of the practices, Maria, that I have, and I don't know in your training if you do this for your clients, but I do have a calendar, which I happen to have right here next to me, where I have my 10 yearly desires. And so my 10 yearly desires are things that I create that are big. They're stretch goals that for me would take a miracle to happen, like just a stretch goal, because I'm not willing to work harder. Remember? So these are things that I rely on the universe making happen. And so one of the things in one of my companies that I wrote down right here, I wanted to make an extra $100,000 a month. And I wrote this down in January. And in April, I taped it onto the cover of my calendar, 100,000 or more. I didn't say how. I didn't say I was, gonna do anything different. There's no how here. And I got 119,000 from the PPP program. And I had no idea that was happening. It was just something that I applied for, and I totally forgot about it. I didn't need it. My company is thriving. And then it happened. And so these things, it does happen that way. I envisioned that we were gonna make an extra $100,000 a month in the company. And the first month that I actually did it, that I wrote it down, it happened. So God will surprise you in exactly the same way that you ask. So I didn't get 50,000. I didn't get 250,000. I got pretty much the number I said I wanted. And then I've been seeing, so I have 10 yearly desires, and I'm in May, and I already have 4 that have happened. So it's pretty remarkable that this is another success tool. And of course, at the same time, I'm doing what I have to do in my companies, creating the vision and getting ready for what I said was going to happen, right? Which means putting all the right people, thinking about it, talking to my business coaches, doubling down on my marketing and making sure I have the staff that's ready for all of what's going to happen. And then I have the vision of how I'm going to spend it, what I'm going to do with that extra $100,000. It's really phenomenal. I highly recommend that for you to create your vision, and you'll see that everything will happen. And in the meantime, I do work on myself. I make sure that I have healthy relationships, because I fundamentally, I think that if you don't have healthy relationships, even though I'm wanting these 10 desires, which are like seeds, I liken them to seeds that I'm just throwing out there. And if they land on good soil, it's going to happen. But if they land on shitty, toxic soil, which means that I'm fighting with my sisters, I'm not getting along with my daughter, or I'm cheating people, or I'm lying, or something's out of integrity, those things are not going to happen for me. So I want to be at the highest level vibration and be the best version of myself that I can be. I mess up, but I clean it up. And this has been working for me for years now.
Hazel, it's so amazing. You're bringing me back to a very early session I did with my forum. I've been in EO for 13 years, and it was literally kind of envision your future life. And one of the things I wrote down was that I wanted my home to feel like an art gallery. And so you've been in this home, it's like there's art everywhere. And not only did that happen, but I married an artist. So I guess really I over manifested what was written on the piece of paper, but I love that. I'm curious, in 2013, was there someone who helped shape this 5-year vision, or were you just reading a book and kind of went off on your own and did it? And by the way, Maria and I are going to go to other people here, so I'm sure there are more shares out there, because this is really, really good stuff. So important.
Yeah, I was in a personal development seminar called Landmark Education, and I took a course called Self-Expression and Leadership Program. And part of the exit is you sit with someone and you figure out, you're out in the world, and what are you up to? What are you celebrating? What are you looking to? And that was my very first experience of creating a vision. And I actually have it right here, but because where did I put it? Here. So one of the things that was different from everything that I've heard is I actually drew it. This is my vision that I drew in 2013. I don't know if you can see. This is the castle, my mansion, the love of my life. That's me always on vacation. That's me on an island. right there. That's a palm tree right there. So see how elementary it is? So our brain will stop us because our brain's number one job is to keep us safe, right? And so when you're trying to dream something that is unrecognizable and it's a stretch, your brain will say, stop it. You can't have a private plane. Look how much money you have or don't have in the bank. That's not going to happen. You barely paid your mortgage last month. Your brain will stop you from dreaming big. And this particular visioning process, you trick your brain. You act as if it already happened. And so this woman prompted me and said, it's 5 years in the future. How old are you? What year it is? What is going on in your life? Tell me. And then I envisioned it, and then I drew it. And if you come to my house, this drawing is framed in my dining room, because my life is so much more than that. But it's such a miracle. That was like my first miracle that I made happen in my life. And now I'm very confident that everything that I envision, I make happen. And another thing that I always add to my vision is that it's always easy. It's easy. It doesn't come hard at all. And there are some of my friends that are in this group that know and are witness to the magic of this work, and how easy everything is in my life right now. It happens very easily.
I just have to say, Hazel, I think that may be one of the areas that I'm messing up. Is like I'm telling myself,
Maria, comment on that one.
yeah, but seriously, and how many? I see some knowing smiles. How many times do we tell us, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be such hard work," and I have to work so hard to get what I want, as opposed to, how could I get out of my way? Help other people get out of their way. So thank you for that so much. Tina, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Hazel, so I wanted to ask you, so what do you call this thing that you're doing? Have you become a master at manifesting and co-creating your life? Is that what it would you would call it if you were talking to somebody, describing what you have done?
Yeah, manifesting is the word that that I describe it as. Um, but it's like using all of your resources, right? And so I'm reading Deepak Chopra's book right now called Meta Human, and meta means beyond. So being beyond human, right? And going beyond what you see. And one of the quotes that I really like, and I totally believe it resonates with me, is that your desires pull you forward. So if we're having, if we're really busy, and I can get busy as well, uh, you're busy and you don't move, you know, and so you don't have time to figure out what are you desiring. You know, it could be even in a romantic relationship that you have. It can be in business, it can be in your family. Like we tend to be sometimes very busy with business, and then it's okay if right now I'm not that close to my sisters because this is going really well, I think, and that's okay if that area of my life is not so good. But if you create all of the areas of your life, your health and wellness, your spirituality, your romance, your personal, what difference you're making in the world. I mean, I know everything. I wrote down when I didn't believe it. It was even a joke that I would make a difference in the world. There is no way that I thought that how can I make a difference in the world? I'm from this little town here, and there's no way. And then all of a sudden I write a book, and people are reading it all over the world, and I'm getting emails from all over the world and getting invited to speak, all on different countries. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually doing what I thought was like impossible. But if I had never taken the time to figure out what it is that's the vision for me, what is all of this for? It's not, can't just be for making money, and being busy. It's about enjoying my life. And so what's the highest vision for every area of my life? That is the practice that I do always. And what I do to support myself is I start groups. So I have my own authors and speakers group, and Sarah's in that one, and Maria, and Meryl, she's in this group right now. She's in that group as well. I have another group, Billionaire Girls Club. So Billionaire Girls Clubs is my vision of something that I'm creating right now. And it's about manifesting, not necessarily manifesting $1 billion, but manifesting the highest vision that you have for yourself. And so I have a lot of groups, and I am very active in these groups, and I'll say probably the most active in some of the groups. And I see myself being the most probably rewarded because I'm in action always in action and supporting other people and prompting them to also share. And but I definitely benefit from that. It keeps me practicing, this magic.
Love it. I love that word, magic. It's really, it's so, I want to pop back to Maria and make sure we get some more shares in here, but I'm just sitting with it, Hazel, and thinking about watching you over time and watching yours over time who manifest and really, I think COVID is such a beautiful time for reflection. And I'm trying to, get out of the meetings on the weekends to do some journaling, do some reflection, because the weeks are so busy. But I think you're here today to share a lesson with many of us to stop, check, manifest, and think through. And we're all grounded at home. So why not now? It's a really good time. Most of our countries haven't fully opened yet. So this might be your last weekend, or who knows what's going to happen. But I think there's a reason you're here today, and it's that magic. It's really amazing. I'm going to pass it back to Maria.
Well, I just want to say one thing, Hazel. You remind me of a forum meeting that I had a few years back. And the discussion was, what is your power? As an individual, what is your power? And it always resonated with me to think like that. Obviously, you found your power, and it's refreshing to hear that. Thank you.
Harvey, since you spoke up, I want to know, what do you think your power is?
Well, it's funny because my power has always been meeting people and just forming relationships. I'm not all about the sale. I'm about the relationship. I enjoy finding out about other people and seeing what they're doing in their personal life, as well as their business life. And EO is giving me that refreshing outlook, because it's not all sell, sell, sell. It's all about, who you are, how you got there, and just basically what Hazel said just now in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I feel that I enjoy that more than I enjoy trying to find a new customer. I mean, those things happen as you go down that road. And it's refreshing to hear other people saying the same things. And I enjoy that power more so than just, being in a room of networkers, which I do, but it's just nice to meet all these people that are going down that same road and learning how they went down that road. And that's what I enjoy, and that's what I figured out.
Thank you. And Hazel, I just want to add, the first time I met you, I felt that you were completely open-hearted, and I don't know if you remember the breakfast we had, but it was not as, I mean, we see this in EO sometimes, right? We call it intimacy, but it was deeper than that. And what I perceived was a real, genuine interest in my own power and my spirit. And I would like to think that I reflected that back to you. And it's not something that we see in everyone. And so I just want to acknowledge that. And if anybody else has a reflection on that, or another question for how Hazel manifests this, because it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
I see Meryl, I see Kay, I see Shahid. Vijay's still there behind his photo.
You make everyone so shy.
Levy.
But I think, can I make a comment? But I think when I listen to Hazel speak, I think the beauty of it and what really gets to me is that most people think that becoming successful and getting you want should involve struggles. I think actually it's the reverse of that. That if you really know how to create the life that you want, that there should be less struggle than what we think there should be. And I'm experiencing that now that this business of mine is finally coming together. And I've failed so many times, but that doesn't matter. Those were all learning curves for me. But the last maybe 6 to 9 months, I've learned slowly to be less attached to the outcome of things. And I think this has made it easier for me to run my business and to reach a critical mass of clients during the holiday season, and especially here now during the COVID season. And it's really coming together because I am a lot more detached and I have let go of the outcome, how, when, where, why. I know the why and what I want, but I've let go of how things should happen. And I think that's really important because then you're more relaxed. Then it's just going to come to you some way or another, but you don't have to know exactly how. So I think there's a big difference between how I am today as a person and as an entrepreneur versus last year. So I think it shows in my results. So I'm very happy about that.
Hi, this is Meryl. So
Hi,
one thing,
Meryl.
hi, good morning. One thing I've watched with Hazel is she's always playing in the gap, right? So there's the vision and not worrying about the how and who do I have to be? Who does she have to be to have that gap close? And then she'll create a new one. And who do I want to do it with? It's never a solo venture. It's always doing it with people. She's always bringing people along with her at every step. So it's not me or you, it's me and you. And the more and I can bring with you, Sarah, and you, Mel, and you, Tina, the more we can do that, the more everybody expands their capacity to manifest and live inside of the miracles, which is really beyond what we know. So Hazel is not afraid of the unknown. Hazel's like, I want the unknown. And even when she gets afraid of the unknown, it's like, thank you for sharing. But the unknown is where is where the magic is. And so that's my experience watching Hazel. And even when it seems obvious that something's not going to work, she just is like, okay, well, that is one narrative. And there are lots of narratives that are possible. And just staying true to what narrative reflects my vision, who I am, my highest good, and the highest good for all involved. So that's my experience with Hazel. And so I reference that all the time. Thank you for letting me share that.
Thanks, Meryl.
Back to Meryl. I'm curious what you're doing to manifest right now. Like, how are you taking some of those lessons within your own world?
Well, I am engaging in creating a brand called the Joy Continuum.
Nice.
And the Joy Continuum, it really is owning our joy. And I'm envisioning right now, I'm in the vision stage for how that will be in the world in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. I'm creating it as actually a global concern, a global media company, as well as a movement. And I'm standing inside of what can it be? Who's it going to touch? When's it going to touch them? Who am I collaborating with? What are the programs that will be that will serve different populations? And so when I think of everyone here, it's like, okay, where could we all collaborate to bring our difference to the world inside of owning our joy in the world? And so I'm in the envisioning stage. And in the meantime, I am working with PPE. So in my entire life, I've been in manufacturing. And so part of my manifesting and the magic is I'm collaborating, bringing buyers together and manufacturers together. And we're now working with some countries and states to source their products for COVID that are properly registered. There's a lot of products that are counterfeit. So we're bringing integrity and clarity and transparency so that these countries and states can actually trust the product. So that is what I'm doing on the financial side as I'm envisioning this Joy Continuum, which is really my life's work. And by the way, part of, Hazel's support of me is, just allow it, like, yes, cause it, but allow it. And that finally came to me after 4 years. And I've written a book, GPS to Joy, Navigate Life's Turbulence and Toughest Transitions to Find Your New Direction. So there's a new book I'm looking to bring. I'm going to do a virtual book launch. But so without getting too diffuse, I am taking care of the financial piece to manifest in a big way. And then I'm really stepping into the vision for what legacy I can leave in the world and how I can collaborate with everybody to make a difference where we can. So thank you for letting me share that.
That is amazing. I just want to say that I need a Joy GPS and I need an airplane to travel again, but we'll take that offline for now. I'm going to pass it back to Maria.
Well, I will say, I think, that just resonated with me on so many different levels, Meryl, and I really appreciate you sharing that. But Harvey has asked for you to share information about how we can collaborate with you on that, or I'll take a leap and say that's what the intention is.
Yes, that would be my intention. It's really not up to, like, I don't need to figure out the how. I need, my job is to connect with you and you and you. And what is it you want to bring? What are you committed to? And are we aligned? Okay, let's do this. What do we want to create? So thank you. Let me know how I can do that in a way that works for you.
Yeah. So I just want to, as Sarah mentioned, I've been taking some of this time to really reflect. And I actually haven't, as an entrepreneur, we always want to be accomplishing. And I felt that I haven't accomplished as much as some. And so I'm so grateful for Sarah for pulling me into this, because if it weren't for this, I'm not sure I would feel that I was actually contributing to the world the way that I normally like to. But I am clear on this, Meryl. I am cultivating connection and acceptance to engender powerful love that heals the world. So my thing is love, right? And so that's, yeah, so thanks. Okay, Kay, to you. Yes, oh, you're,
Kay is on mute.
yeah, you're muted. It doesn't show you're muted, but for some reason we
That's
can't
true.
hear you.
Maybe still, you're not, I think it could be the computer on your side. You're off mute, but maybe there's something on your side that is not on.
Yes.
We will wait for Kay though, because she's had her hand up for a while. And I just want to say, Maria, thank you for sharing that. There is a lot of love on this call today. And I think it's interesting that we've been doing this now. I don't know where we at, like 8 weeks. I'm losing track, 7 weeks. But I think we're at an interesting moment where depends on where you are in the world, but I can only speak for New York City. May 15th was supposed to be an opening day. Now it kind of has pushed back. And so we're in this lull. We're in this like moment of like, what is going on? Like maximum uncertainty, which just to go back to the point of, could you spend some time this weekend or soon writing some thoughts for the future? Because I think journaling and writing and manifesting is so important. And in this uncertain moment, why not? But back to Maria and maybe Kay, maybe we can hear Kay.
Oh no,
Can't hear Kay.
I can't hear you.
But if you put it in the chat, we're with you and we will go to that question.
Yes, thank you. Excellent. So we'll,
Maria,
yes.
if I may give you something. One of the things that's really, really important is to celebrate the wins. And we get numb, and we have like this, I learned this new terminology called tranquilized obviousness.
Tranquilized obviousness?
Yes. So basically, you know, we see something and we don't give it the importance. It's just like an obvious thing. But we're always winning the day, right? We woke up, we won. Some people don't wake up. We have several wins throughout the day. You know, the fact that my daughter had interest to spend some time with me. She's 22 years old, very busy young lady, and she actually wanted to spend time with me yesterday. Somebody that I could share that with could be like, you know, like that's not a win, but for me it is. And that matters to me, right? I went hiking. I did a sunset hike yesterday. You know, I do it every day, but it is a win. Like I celebrate little things and it makes me present that I am up to things. Things are happening. The only time that I feel like I'm not doing anything and I'm not being a contribution is when I'm not present in my life. I'm not looking to what I'm in my life, what's going on in my life. Every day we're healthy. You look gorgeous this morning. You know, like there's a lot of wins. And so let's not forget that. Write it down and see yourself as a winner every day.
Thank you. You know, I want to just follow up on that because I'm still waiting for you, Kay. Okay, she's dialed in with your phone. Can we see if we can hear you real quick?
You're on mute, so if we unmute you.
Okay, now try. Okay, it's so disappointing. You're gonna have to type it. And please do it quickly because we are like right on the edge of our seats to know what your question is. But Hazel, I want to just, if I can, just say that one of the challenges I think many of us have, particularly high achievers, is the feeling of not doing enough. And so to your point of like, I love this tranquilized obviousness. And I'd like, can you share a little bit more about your experience with that?
Well, like I noticed it with my boyfriend. I think that he'll never want to hang out with my family. And because of experiences in the past. And I stopped asking him. And then when I learned this term of tranquilized obviousness, where we already think we know people, I was like, well, I asked him, hey, my family wants to go to Big Bear Mountain Cabin, for the weekend. And I was expecting a no, and he said, oh, sounds like fun. And we went, and he actually did have fun. So that's one of the things that's like a tranquilized obviousness. But another thing is like, I forgot the other day I was filling out an application that I'm a minority. I'm a Hispanic, I'm disabled, and I'm a woman. Like I don't even think of all of these things that I am, and it worked really well. And I've come a long way. That made me very present to like how far I've come. We're the #1 counseling center in California. I don't say that all the time, but now I'm present to it. I had a tranquilized obviousness about that. Like everything that where we are right now is pretty amazing. Statistically, how many businesses go out of business, and the fact that we're $1 million plus businesses or wherever we're at, like that's a miracle. So many other people don't make it. So being very present to that and keeping it alive versus this tranquilized obviousness.
Wow, I love that term. Now it's speed round.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay, I believe that you
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay. We're coming out people. So
Success.
what we do as entrepreneurs. Hi, I'm Kay, founder of Makishi Apparel, a sustainable women's fashion brand. And Makishi in Japanese means pursue true happiness. So Maria, love to connect afterwards with your whole joy theme. Dialing in from Amish County here. And thank you so much, Hazel. I just wanted to sort of jump in and do a little share and ask the question at the end. So your whole manifesting, philosophy really resonates with me. When I was 15, same thing, like I'm the only immigrant child in this, in Amish County. Parents came over, grandmother came over after the war with nothing, no English. I read the book, Man's Search for Meaning, when I was 15, had 3 chapters in my life. One of the goals was travel 50 countries before at 30, did it, build a business before 30, raise $50,000 in 30 days on my 30th birthday, solo cycle the Silk Road, right? All these things, achievements. And now I'm launching another business with a friend for a media platform to elevate women in Japan. And as a visionary myself, I'm wondering if you could sort of give tips on how you, as a visionary, communicate, right? Any sort of best tips and practices to the rest of the team, kind of switching between operator and visionary. How do you, what are some of your tips and tricks for doing that?
Awesome. Hazel, we had 3 minutes. So
Okay.
2.5.
Okay. So create your vision, like at least 10 things that you want, and go out in the future 5 years. And what is your life going to look like? How old are you? What difference are you making? Who's around you? How much money do you have in the bank? What difference are you making? You're receiving an award. What is it for? All of these are truths. And if God is real and miracles happen, what is the highest vision for yourself that can happen? And then find friends and do it with your friends. Make it fun. And then that 5-year vision, bring it back to 1 year. In 12 months, we're standing at the balcony. We have champagne in our champagne glasses in our hand. What are we celebrating? And then say that, and what miracles are happening. And you will see that any amount of money you said you're raising, any difference that you want to make in the world, you're going to have it. And your friends will be a witness to that. And you'll be a witness to their manifesting as well. God is going to show you who he is. Trust me.
What a beautiful close, Hazel. Thank you for your dear friendship, wisdom, and manifesting for the world. It's so, so beautiful. Maria?
And you can read my book, From Lounge Checks to Private Jets. I talk about that as well.
Very cool. Yes, definitely will. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hazel, for joining us. And every call that we have, I think, oh my gosh, that's my favorite call. And now I think it again. So I think, but it's about being present, and it's about really, I love that you invoked God and whatever God is for us. And I'll just share, my coach recently said something to me that really resonated, and so I want to share it here out of love. He said that your hunger for spirit and your hunger for God is God. And so I'll just leave that without any other.
And we would love to see you next week. Chris Ye co-wrote Blitzscaling with the founder of LinkedIn. So talking about manifesting, blitzscaling, different word, probably the same thing. So join us next week. And thank you for being here.
Thanks, Hazel, for bringing your spirit to us today, and everybody else, Meryl, Tina,
Okay.
Kay, Harvey.
Love you.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a
Take care.
great rest of your
Thank
day.
you.